want to thank you, and I want to thank everybody for coming today and joining us in this first Diva Chat of 2022. I'm Steve Scovasso, and I am the Artistic Director and Founder of the SAS Performing Arts, and I am thrilled beyond belief to have a true diva sitting here with me, and that's Aprile Millo, who I've had the great pleasure and honor of hearing many, many times at the Met. And we've talked about these performances, and we will bring them up again today. I want to thank everybody for their understanding, and Aprile, to you for your understanding for our delay in doing this. For people who don't know, in April, I had an accident and fell and suffered a concussion. And then when I was planning to do this in January, I contacted COVID. So now that all that is behind me, and I have my sense of smell back, and I am a very happy camper.
But you were vaxxed.
And I was totally vaxxed and boosted, and thank God for that, because it could have been a lot worse. For people who don't know, I am a diabetic, so it's not a good thing to contract or COVID. But I want to tell you that today we're going to have a chat, we're going to tell stories, and we're going to have music. And that is going to be the most wonderful part of this whole talk. And then at the end, we will open the floor. Please put your questions in the comment section. And then at the end, we will get those questions, and I will pose them to Aprile, and we will go from there. So, just as a matter of introduction, if any is even needed, Aprile Millo is an American operatic soprano of Italian and Irish ancestry.
Are you going to actually read from
the Wikipedia page? And you shouldn't have said that.
Let's just talk.
Well, I just want to tell them that...
No, that's okay. Who doesn't know me will know me after.
Well, yes, but she is noted for her...
Boring. Let's get into it.
She's noted for Verdi, but I'm going to...
Loves Verdi, has been honored to sing Verdi for over 40 years. Next!
But what? Go ahead.
There we go.
Go ahead. But by way of introduction, I am going to be playing something so we can know the voice of Aprile Millo. So I'm going to share my screen and play this. Don't you I love that picture, by the way.
Yes, it's Christian Steiner.
Christian Steiner.
He makes everyone look good.
And I am going to play this wonderful Io son lumine ancella from Adriana Lecouvreur from the Opera Orchestra of New York on March 3rd, 2002. And this is the beautiful voice of Aprile Millo.
Eccola, basta!
M'arrendo all'interno, tutti uscite e ogni soglia sia chiusa all'audace. No, così non va bene, tutti uscite. All'audace e torni al seraglio la gusta sua pace.
Splenda portentosa
Oh, that's wonderful. What do you remember about that night?
Uh, First off, in just listening to the music, I'm lost. It doesn't take me a second to come back because it's such great music, and it's usually given such short shrift by critics who, I guess, you know, I don't know why. I don't know why, because it's very simplistic, it's very beautiful. But the melodies are the kind that you don't forget, and they sound like what love is.
Yes.
The up and down of a relationship, the pluses, the minuses. It's for me to hear this, and the mixture in the Verismo and the Adriana Lecouvreur de Chile are used to have this marvelous spoke song. Già s'accinge il mio todo, all of the things that she does in the Fade that is seen later. But here, it's such a mix of culture, it's knowledge. That was the way that many people used to recite in performance. And of course, to me, one of the greats, of course, Renata Tebaldi, there's no question, and Magda Rivero. But little known, perhaps to this generation, is Muzio, who just used to eat this alive. So it's a magnificent memory for me. I loved working with the late Marcello Giordani, fantastic tenor, had a huge success that night, and Dolores Zajic. So we were the three-headed monster in service to the music, and with Yves Queller and the opera orchestra. And you always are. You're allowed to make music there in a very individual way, and she made you feel comfortable and supported, and was always about the voice and making sure that the orchestra, you were in a little grembo, you were in a little lap of comfort and expression. And the audience never forgets that.
No, I know that we've had Yves Queller on here, as you know.
Yes,
you came
fantastic.
and the one thing that struck me so much about Yves Queller when I was talking to her and playing excerpts, how she, like you, are taken back to that moment of music making, and the feelings just become a flood of emotions.
Yep.
And
Absolutely.
That's the incredible thing about music and performance, and to a degree reminiscing and nostalgia, because these are performances that we're very lucky that we have them on tape to relive over and over again.
Well, there used to be all this hatred of someone taping from the audience. My very good friend, God bless him, Ed Rosen. He used to come to all the performances. I had others who will remain nameless who used to film with a coat over the little camera. So it was just for themselves. More to the point, Ed used to make it available to the world, that's fine. But for those who filmed it, it's a fantastic thing to relive, considering how much we've come away from some performances practice of that. And the audience, too, is being taught how to be quiet instead of being involved. The interactive audiences are fading away. Not quite so much. I mean, I know when I perform, it's sort of like a football stadium. It's fun, and I want them to have fun. I want them to be involved and very much a part of it. But in the old days, if Tebaldi was singing, my friend Matthew Epstein used to talk about how they timed it so that he and Eugene Cohn and many of the Tebaldiani used to leave when she was not on stage. Because, of course, they had already seen the first performance, they had paid respect, they'd given what they needed to in order to be polite. But then every other night they came to see Renata and to plug into that supersonic experience, and they would leave. So they would go, oh, it's 20 minutes now, we've got to go back. And the doors would open and all the wind would come in and people would be waiting to see Renata. So it's something that shouldn't be lost. And there are still very many exciting evenings in the theater.
Well, I tell students that I work with, and when I was teaching, I would always tell them to please go on YouTube and study and listen to performances of these great singers. I can't tell you, I had one singer who auditioned for me, and I will not, again, say names, but she was given the award in honor of a great singer.
Right.
And I said, well, of course, then you know this singer and you've heard her. And it was not a singer who she's recently departed. She's not departed for more than maybe 15 years. And she said to me, no, I don't even know who she is. And she won an award in their name. And that, to me, you have to know where we've been to know where you're going. And
I agree
and
totally.
it just
Well, here's my question to you, Stephen.
Yes.
If a young ball player, I'm insane about Kobe Bryant and always will be. Kobe, when he started playing, knew about Julius Erving, knew about Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, knew about Bill Russell with his 11 championships, and of course idolized Michael Jordan. How is it that we serve our art form? Yes, we're going to be individual no matter what we do. We're not asking you to copy these people, but we are asking you to be your canvas to be splashed with their knowledge and their understanding of style, because today really the style is being lost entirely. Not all the way, not everybody, but for the most part, the style is being confused. I go to Verdi, I hear Puccini. I go to Puccini, I hear Handel. There's so many different ideas of how style is. The way the old school used to do was to go and hear someone who was actually alive at that time when the composer was alive. And so you went, oh, excuse me, the composer approved, this is it. It's not an ur text vocally, but it's, something to be admired, to be emulated perhaps, and then it's going to sound different in your sound anyway. But for someone not to know Muzio, who professes to be an expressive actress on the stage, for someone not to know Olivero, or not to know Poncel, not to know Mafalda Favero, or these magnificent Storchio, you've got to know all of them. If only just to say, yes, I've been in the theater more, because it makes you feel like you've been to performances where you heard the piece. The more you hear it, the different ways you hear it, it adds to your palette. So we're not asking to copy, but it's astonishing to me how the teachers today tell them not to listen.
I'm amazed by that. Now, you received the Geraldine Farrar Award.
Yes.
And did you know who she was when you received that award?
Absolutely. And the Jerry Flappers.
Well, I don't know if you know this. I think I might have mentioned to you that my paternal grandfather was a music publisher. He published the music of Rachmaninoff and Fritz Kreisler.
Wow.
And when I was a very, very, very young child, we're talking really deep last century.
Knighthood was in flower.
I remember sitting on the lap of this woman with this gorgeous face, and she was playing with me, and I was laughing, and I was told to call her aunt. And of course, you're Italian, we call everybody aunt, aunt and uncle. But I only found out many years later that woman was Geraldine Farrar.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how was she? Did she have a lovely energy?
I was young, but she was very smiley, always laughing.
So as a little person, you didn't run from her, because children have the best antenna.
No, I didn't run from her.
She had a great energy.
I did not run from her. And another true story is my father was actually going into the Army, and he came up to my grandfather's office, and Fritz Kreisler was there, and this was for the Korean War. And Fritz Kreisler called him into the office, and they talked, and Fritz Kreisler gave him a $100 bill and told him to go out and buy a pack of cigarettes. I mean, this was how generous these people were. I had the great honor of kind of paying homage to her, because my first professional directing experience was with Zaza, with Newark Well, the opera
What a
company.
magnificent piece.
Now, you sang Zaza. So did you feel that
Yes.
connection at that point when you did it?
A connection to...
Geraldine Farrar? Because, that
I
was her
wouldn't say
fair work.
Geraldine Farrar, because Farrar's approach to music was very, very different.
I
And
meant
then
in the
even her
character.
student Grace Moore, you saw a particular line of American singer, which was spectacular, but it was very far from more of the Italian approach.
Yes, that's very true.
So I probably wouldn't have, because I didn't have the privilege of seeing her in anything. I'm sure I would have been out of my mind happy for her. But for me, the Zaza, in working with Cigliapini, Maestro Alfredo Cigliapini,
That's who I worked
and
with.
he's the man who did practically all the performances recent. So much of what I was doing, he would turn and look at me and say, "How do you know this?"
Mm-hmm.
And it was something also that Madame Olivero said to me. She said, "You have a rare knowledge of the verismatic shorthand." She said, "I've not known anyone as young as you are to understand that."
Yeah.
And even she is much more distilled and perfect. Mine is a little bit a mix of Verdi and Verismo and Verismo. But it's interesting. The Zaza that night, that piece just kills me. It is so beautiful.
Yes.
And it's beautifully written, fantastic soap opera.
Yes,
Absolute soap
exactly.
opera. I mean,
Yeah.
everybody can acknowledge they've been through something like she went through. That's an amazing piece.
So talk to me a little bit about your father and mother and how they had their effect on you growing up.
When you grow up in a golden age, you either develop a tremendous inferiority complex or you become competitive. Mm-hmm. And I wasn't competitive, but I wanted to please them. And the first time we went over to a man named Baselici's studio at Carnegie Hall. And we had old man Salmaggi come over to the house, and much of the New York scene early on, Stephen Idolo, all of the lovely, lovely people. And when Salmaggi walked through the door, he had a Fu Manchu kind of mustache, and he was wearing a bolero, and he had a cape on. I thought, this is divine. Who is this man? And then my mother and father, whenever any music was placed, because sometimes we would have a magnificent Irish stew, talk about incongruent, we would have a magnificent Irish stew, and then they would put on the Liebeschied. So we'd be sitting there listening to Wagner, digesting the little Irish stew, and I fell madly in love with their face when they heard the music, not only Wagner, but Verdi and the Donizetti they would go somewhere, and I said, I want to go where they're going. Yep. I want to go where they're going. I want to see what makes my mother and father feel that way. And of course, then when I went, I understood. And it was a round-trip ticket for the rest of my life. But now, because God bless them, they're both in that paradise that I hope music is a hint of. Now, every time I sing, I feel that I'm with them. So it's a little bridge.
Yeah.
So, but to listen to them sing, my mother was very much Muzio. She was an amazingly creative, spontaneous, and freakish, fabulous actress. And my father was matinee idol, beautiful, handsome, gorgeous tone, and very, very adept on stage. So here we were in Baselici's studio in Carnegie Hall on one of those top floors with floor to ceiling windows. And I remember going in and listening to them singing the Cavalleria duet. They were preparing for a concert. And my mother and father disappeared, and some tuts and turidos were in front of me. And that was it. I was hooked. I thought, oh my, this is incredible. And of course, the emotion is so real if you do it right.
Right.
So
the emotion. I have to tell you that I did meet your mother once.
Yes.
Many years ago at the opera.
Uh-huh.
Your father, no. But I have to say that I actually was introduced to your father today. And I'm going to introduce our audience to your father.
Oh, please, how wonderful. And Mom, right. I'm sorry we don't have any tapes of you. You are equally wonderful.
Oh, well, let's get that.
She actually trained with Yeritza, too.
Oh, my God.
So she had a lot of fun.
And I'm sorry the picture is not as good, but this is wonderful.
This is Aprile Millo, tenor, presenting a program in support of an application for study in Italy.
Italy.
Mentre preso dal delirio, non so più quel che dico e quel che faccio, eppure dopo saltati, sei tu forse pagliaccio. Vesti la zuppa e la faccia impallida, la gente paga e rider vuole
Oh my.
Well, I know where you get your intensity from. I don't mean to,
No,
so
it's Mom
please
and
forgive
Dad, but
me.
I gotta tell you, Dad was oh, God, the sound. I mean, where do you hear this? You don't.
You don't,
You just don't.
and you have his face too. You're probably a
You
cross
don't
between your mother.
yeah, definitely my, well, I don't want to blame this on anybody. But yes, I'm a nice little mix, I think. I hope so.
Yeah, definitely.
It
But
just
I
slays.
heard that today, and I said, "Oh my God!" You could tell the line. It's in your blood. It's in your DNA.
Thank you for that. That's a rare privilege. They had an excellence that I miss a lot. I miss a lot.
Yeah, I'm sure you do. But tell me about the early years when you went into the Met Young Artist program.
Was I have to say, Larry Stayer. If any of you have enjoyed my career, it's because of Larry Stayer, because he kept me there. Because when I went there originally, my mother, I was offered all sorts of contracts in Germany, especially in Karlsruhe. They wanted to make me the queen of the opera house there. And my mother said, look, Jimmy Levine is offering you a very rare situation with the program, and I think you should stay with Jimmy and trust in Jimmy. And I wanted to sing. I didn't want to be on the shelf. I didn't want to be covering. I didn't want to be, but it's a young person. So I did a nice little mix of the two. I would go and I would perform. They would allow me to perform. As with any young career, there's a lot of gamesmanship. There's a lot of silly stuff that goes on where they try to keep you. The only person who understood when I got finally to Jimmy, everything was fine. And then I made a fantastic audition on what I thought was going to be my last day there, because Joan Incan, I adored her, but we just did not see eye to eye. And, she got very upset with me when I turned down the Celestial Voice, and I turned down Helmvige in Die Walküre, and then I said to her, look, I was up all night trying to figure out how to say this to you, but I would rather wait until you think I can do a lead role. Because I plan in the Italian fashion. You plan,
Right.
you study, you get ready, and then you go to the provinces. And at that time, that's how it was done. And I remember she looked at me and grinding her teeth more or less, and she said, this lacks of esprit, this smacks of a esprit de corps. And I said, you're not looking for esprit de corps, you're looking for Pavlova.
Right.
So, and then of course, ceremoniously, I was out of the office, and I thought, okay, that's the end of me here. I understand it, but at least I'm going to go well. So I put on my mother's old, fantastic cocktail dress that had the same chiffon top as the material itself, put my hair up 1940s, and went to this audition that would change my life. Because every 3 months, every 4 months, every 6 months, you would have to stand on the stage and show how you're improving. And I would argue with everyone because they would say, look, you cannot do what you're doing. You can't take the liberties that I would take. You can only do that if you're a star. And I said, well, you'll never be a star if you don't
do it. Right.
I mean, at least it's also, the star wasn't what was interesting to me. It was the expression, was the individuality of the expression. They wanted much more, precise. And I understood it. And I drove them nuts. When Jimmy put me with David Stivender, then everything changed, because I saw in this Muscati scholar, he understood. And he said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to learn it like a cookie cutter. We're going to make sure everything is on there, and then we're going to encourage you to express. Because if Jimmy thinks you're what you are, then that's what you are. And of course, he also agreed. So then, you look on it. I come to this audition. You have Dick Marzolo, who used to be at La Scala under Toscanini. He's one of the people that worked with me as well. And then you had, at that time I didn't know, Sinopoli also in the audience. You had Jimmy, you had a couple of other people, and you had Ingpen, of course, who was grinding her teeth going, she's just too much trouble. And I sang Tu che invoco from Vestale and the Nume Tutela. And I thought, okay, that's it. So they said, well, would you sing something else? And I said, listen, don't worry about it. I know I'm being thrown out. And I started talking to them about how I was not going to. I know, why bother? I said, in perfect peace, I'll sing the Suicidio. I'll commit suicide right here on the stage for you. Of course, it was over the top wonderful. So Jimmy comes down to the front of the stage because he's saying, what's the matter with you? What are you doing? What are you talking about? Just sing, just sing. So after this, I thought that was it. I'm done. 2 years of fighting. And he asked me back to his office. He said, I don't know what this house has made you feel, but if you give me these next maybe year and a half, I will make you the Verdi soprano of this house. What I heard today, he said, this is spectacular singing. And he said, we have to clean up 1 or 2 things here. And if you have the humility, I said, I don't have a problem with humility. I just want to know that I'm in the right hands. And people aren't strangling. And so he understood. And so I'm very, very glad that all happened that way. And he was good to his word. He was very, very, always very honest with me. I never understood those who say he ran from confrontation. He confronted me a lot. And, I accepted what I could to learn fast enough. And I will never know how to say thank you enough to him. And also growing up in that house is really something. I mean, on a given afternoon, you could see Leone Riznik on stage doing Elizabeth in the scene where she leaves at the end of the opera. It's the only woman I ever saw who, as she's going upstage, got bigger because she was trying to present Elizabeth as she was leaving in Tannhäuser. I've never in my life seen such acting, And then I raced to the house to see Nielsen when she sang, or Caballé, or any of them. You could sit in the company box and listen to all these people. I went every night, because
Oh,
it's
I don't
like
blame you. I mean,
opera
back then,
itself. But it isn't just even for that. It was the learning process, but to be
yes,
around opera.
yes.
That's what's so spectacular. Very expensive today to do that, but worth it. The young singers, they don't. They stay away, or they're on some kind of social media. They're making all sorts of stuff about themselves and their careers, and it's like, yeah, it's interesting and sweet, but what have you done to feed your soul? What are you investing in your musical soul? For me, it's listening to Rachmaninoff. It's listening to Fritz Kreisler. These people that your father helped publish. It's listening to the greats of every piece of music.
I was very lucky because my first ring cycle was with Nielsen. I heard Riesnick. I heard um, Domingo, Price, Pavarotti, Vickers. The Vickers Otello was frightening. It was Shakespearean. It
Absolutely,
was
yeah.
larger than life. There were singers I was very lucky. I heard Corelli once, and that was just incredible with Caballé. And
Magnificent.
I was not lucky enough to hear Tebaldi, which I'm sorry about, or even Collis, where, but being an avid collector now of performances, I can get to hear these
You can get
people.
a hint of it, Stephen,
I can
but
get a
unless you
hint.
heard them live,
Right.
Tebaldi was a supersonic velvet jetliner.
Yeah.
I have never heard something that supported, firm, and boom, it just
In your
washed
face,
over. Yes.
right.
Whereas Nielsen was a javelin straight through your solar plexus and just surrounded you. It felt like she was sitting right here when she sang.
Right.
And I made sure to go down to the Met on the Centennial Gala and hear practically everybody I could, because I was so mad that I wasn't on it. But I understand why now. But you can see at the end of that evening, I'm shaking the curtain to say, yes, I'm here, I'm coming. But Nielsen's sound, and Corelli, when I first came to New York, I got to go to sing for Loretta. And
Yeah.
Loretta said, I really think Franco should meet you. He's coming home any minute. So we did. And we sang a little bit of, believe it or not, the Cavalleria duet together. A little tiny bit. I've never heard, my hair was going back. But the immensity and the masculinity and the virility of his sound was so, and not manufactured, and he knew he was gorgeous, not himself personally, but just such giants, these people.
When he opened his mouth and he sang with Caballé and Bohème, there was a love that was just surrounding that sound that transcended whatever look people wanted to talk about, but you just felt there was this love that just poured across the stage. It was just amazing. Of the people you sang with, of your favorites, I know you probably have every one of them as your favorites, but who would you say was among those top favorites of yours?
Well, you see, that's dangerous to say because
I know.
That makes one person more important than the other. I loved singing with Luciano. Absolutely loved it. Loved singing with Placido. Fabulous actor, very involved, lots of fun, beautiful voice. I would have to say Dolores Zajic and I have had some battle royals on stage, which are really fun. And she's a character, and I love opera characters. I don't like the norm. I mean, I'll do it, but that's fine. I loved working with Atlantov in Vienna. I thought he was absolutely amazing. Matteo Managuerra. One of the performances with the other famous baritone that sang much. I can't remember his name. Zancanaro, fantastic. I mean, it really, pretty much anyone that I sang with, I enjoyed singing with. Lando Bartolini, we sang very many times together. The only one I missed really was Jose Carreras. I wanted very much to work with him because I had a mad crush on him growing up, and we met as two people that Maestro Morelli was very interested in, and so in Los Angeles.
Mm-hmm.
Very sweet story, and show you what a class gentleman he is. Morelli was at a lunch, and he introduced me to this unbelievably good-looking man in Jose, and Jose was very sweet with me, and we got to know each other. We talked a little bit, and there was a word maybe that we might sing in a concert together, which never materialized. Then, when years later, he's at La Scala doing his first Chenier, and I was up in the catwalk. Literally, I wanted to hear it because it was all sold out. And I came to him and I said, "I'm so excited for you. Congratulations." And he said, "I remember you. We met with Maestro Morelli." And that was like 6 years later. So that he would remember me. I was flying home that night at La Scala because it was just so lovely and a wonderful man. Lots of people that, we've had wonderful times with. A few out there right now I would love to. I loved singing with Olga Borodina. I thought I was just waiting for someone who would give me a mezzo that was rich and full like that.
Right.
Because right now I would love to sing with Rashvili.
Yes.
That would give me something to warm up about, because she's got a wonderful, full, fabulous mezzo. Any of the young tenors, actually, any of them would be fun to sing with. I would love it. I love singing with people. I like to help them do well, but it was probably Luciano, who is my Luciano and Placido are my favorite.
Well, it's funny that you mentioned Luciano, because I do have something with you and Luciano.
Oh, nice.
All right, let me see if I can get that. All right.
How is everyone able to get this link?
Yes,
I'm getting a lot of people.
They're able to see it, and we're getting comments. So let's just, we want to, wait a minute now. I'll have to go back to that one. We'll go to this one.
No, that's the Pirata that you said.
Yeah, that's the Pirata. We're going to come back to the Pirata. That. That's the next one. But this
looks
one.
Like how I see the world without my glasses.
You know what? I know it's a bit blurry, but you know what? For the quality of the singing, it's worth it.
Yeah,
all right, so this one is just wonderful.
ella vien col sole, ella vien col mattino. Solio.
Vivi allegre.
Solio.
Viva la morte. Il Signore.
Yeah, Luciano, that's his first, that's his first Chenier.
Yeah, I'm friends
maybe
with
the fifth Chenier that he did in his life, but that was the first round.
first time. I'm friends with Isola Jones, and I asked her what was it like to sing with Luciano or Joan Sutherland or that she sang with, and she said to me, they raised the bar for you. You needed and they helped you. It wasn't that they raised the bar and said, okay, now you need to meet me. No, they raised the bar and they helped you get up there. And did you feel that way too?
No.
Okay.
No, she's perfectly right. Absolutely. But for me, growing up in the house I grew up in,
well, that's true
singing
too.
with Luciano, I'm singing with a great tenor.
Yeah.
I lived with a great tenor at home. But then you listen to Luciano and you feel, when the two of us sang together, Cosotto ran all over the theater saying, this is the two Italian voices that are correct with each other. Yeah. And I met him because of Adua, his wife, but also because of his father, Fernando. And Fernando said, this woman will give you a run for your money. She sounds like Canidia. This is old school Italian. You've got to use it. So when I sang with him, I thought, our sounds were wonderful together.
Yes.
Like with Placido, the same thing. There's a more dark kind of bronze gold and fabulous. It felt comfortable. When the voices were great, I felt at home. When I sang for Von Karajan, he said, you're not nervous at all. I said, no, because you're great, and you'll understand I am too. When I'm not with someone who's good, or even barely, I'm going to have trouble.
Yeah.
So, and I know that sounds maybe a lacking in humility, but I never had trouble with people who knew. Was it?
Because they knew what you were going to do, and they
knew what I was.
Right.
That was all I had to worry about. The first night singing with Luciano was hysterical because I have it on tape. They did a kind of like they were filming the Trovatore, and the very first time he ever heard me. And it was just so much fun because you can see he's looking, where is she going? What is she doing now? How is she doing that? If you saw the tape, you'd understand it. I was so complimented and happy. He told me after, he said, I don't know how you do what you do.
Wow.
Really
the first time I heard your name was in the early 80s. And you were going on or had just been on a tour with the Ambassadors of Opera, Joanne Grillo.
Yes.
And she is the one who introduced me to your name. And I believe you were doing Aida.
Yes.
What was that? Isola went on those tours also. What was that like?
I don't think it was the one I went on, although I love Isola. That's one of the greats. And so she gives a lesson in how to not only react, but her Magdalena with Luciano is a thing of glory.
Yeah.
And many things that she's done are just spectacular. I love her. What did you ask?
What was it like on the tours?
On the tour? It's a normal, wonderful tour. What made it spectacular were the people. Mm-hmm. Joanne and her husband were phenomenal people. They were opera people. And I got to work with Eugene Cohn there for the first time doing the Aidas, and then we went back to Italy together. When we sat down in Frankfurt, it was quite something, because the way we got back, flying around the world, yes, these were spectacular times, and chance to break yourself in on stage and learn. It's what's missing today. It's what we have to try and bring for more of the young people out there.
That's very true. I'm going to jump a little bit and say everybody knows you as the Verdian, but you and I have talked about the bel canto and the pirata,
Yes.
just to bring that up. What about the bel canto? And I want you to talk about, because you and I talked about this, that desire to do Norma.
Well, that was what I was hoping to work towards. And, it ain't over yet, but it's most likely, maybe not. I won't be one of those things that go, well, I have got, no, I am hopeful to do pieces of her, or maybe even just do a concert version of her somewhere. I would love to have had the honor. But, God, Norma. Yes, the bel canto for me, I was listening last night because a very good friend of mine was Randy Michelson, who used to be the Handel specialist. And I put on a tape of myself working with fabulous Ken Noda and Michael, my gosh, I can't remember his last name, Parloff, who was the principal flautist at the Met. And if I played for you this Handel at some point, I'll send it to you so you would not recognize me. Because it's filled with trills, and it's filled with all sorts of stuff that people think, oh, she can't do that. Yes, I could. My whole early singing was based entirely on bel canto, on the Lucias, on most of the stuff of Rosa Poncel. That was not terribly coloratura, but for me, I loved moving quickly. And I made my debut in New York in William Hotel.
Right.
And had a wonderful time in E-flats, and it was so much fun. Yes, but the bel canto for me, when I speak to Richard about one of the things he really wished,
and Richard Bonning,
I had done more, Maestro Bonning, he said, I really wish you had sung more bel canto, and you still have the opportunity to. But he said, you should have, but unfortunately Jimmy was not a big fan of bel canto. He wasn't into that. He was more into the Wagner and the meat and potato kind of Verdi, and not to say that he couldn't have done it, but to his credit, he didn't feel an affinity for them. Like, as far as I'm concerned, I would have put me immediately into a Traviata. I would have put me immediately, and I had to fight for the Louisa Miller. I had to fight for these things early on, because I wanted to move. And then when I got to see Yves Queller, then I was able to do La Battaglia di Legnano, Il Pirata, William Hotel, these roles that then showed off something different.
Well, we are lucky to have the final couple of minutes of the Pirata, and it will show all you were just talking about, the runs and just things that we maybe didn't equate with what we knew of Aprile Millo. But this is also Aprile Millo, and this is wonderful, wonderful singing. Let me get that for you.
Thank you. While you're getting that up, running, probably I did myself no favors in leaving out the caballetas in my first recording.
Yes, okay.
Because they didn't have enough time, and they were sight reading most of that. We only did it in 3 days. So I understand why they might not think I did.
Okay, we're going to go to 7 minutes into this, because it does go on for a little bit.
We still have some of the aria proper, yeah?
Oh
They could have done Pirata so many years before they actually did it at the Met, because that is wonderful. That is really great singing.
I loved the Pirata. Pirata for me was the what I was hoping to use as the study for Norma.
Yes.
Because then, the progression, the old-fashioned progression, was to do something of that ilk, either Vestale or the Pirata. And so at some point, I would love to hope that comes into it. Maybe even just parts of it would be a lovely opportunity to share that, because it's one of the first operas I sang as a singer. At 16, I won the first competition I ever won was Casta Diva. So I would love to show how comfortable that used to be in the wheelbarrow, in the wheelhouse. It's still
years in that century, in that golden age of singing, singers would do the Verdi and the Bellini repertoire. Because they were made for them. Now all of a sudden we have this incredible distinction between the two of them. But in the golden age, it was together. Those singers sang it all, and
yes,
it should be done. And of course, you had a great conductor in Eve Quella.
I think so
she
too.
Was wonderful.
Very, very, very wonderful. Very much a singer's conductor in the old sense of like the Seraphines and the magnificent Santi. These were people that understood that it's not a cookie cutter approach to it. It's how the voice sounds best. Some will be a golf ball, some will be a basketball, some will be a ping pong ball. You've got to know how much space to give it so that it vibrates correctly.
But they also were conductors for the voice. Yes. And that is something I think a lot of conductors don't have today.
I know.
No. You also were noted for causing great
finish it.
I'm trying to think of the best way, but causing great uproars.
Pandemonium,
That's a better word. Yeah. Pandemonium. And this is one of them.
Uh-oh.
You knew I was going to play this, right?
Yeah, I'm not sure the which copy you have of it.
The only one that I could get. Let me get this here. All right, so
did you get the one from the Met?
No, I didn't get the Met. This one we already heard. All right, come on, let's pass this. All right, you don't want that. Want that?
No.
We want this one.
Oh, you want to go to the absolute end, probably. I loved when that happened at the Met. All I saw on stage was a very angry other cast because they had not been told. I had only mentioned to Maestro Santi, and he said, "You never said this to me, but if you want to, go ahead and do it. But you never heard it from me." And it was a performance with Grace Bumbry and Bruno Sebastian.
Yes.
Who he fell off. I think
he fell off the horse
because he was wearing the Mario del Monaco lifts, which were very, very high. It's a wonderful, wonderful tenor, by the way. But I remember hitting it, and then I saw the curtains close. But before I saw them close, everybody was throwing their programs in the air, and people were starting to run down the center aisle, which was really exciting. When I went in front of that curtain, I have never heard a roar like that.
Yeah.
Because they had seen something that they've read about, that they've heard about. I'm sure there were many other people who've done it, but not at the Met. And of course, I got the call the next day. If I ever did that again, I would never sing again at the Met. So I thought, that's too bad. But in the backstage, the entire chorus formed a circle around me going, yes, this is so exciting. Corelli used to do stuff like this, and Nielsen and they would have this. Oh my goodness, this was so. And the whole real core of what is an opera house, are the people who make it happen. They were out of their minds. And then at backstage, I've never seen such pandemonium. It was so much fun. And Bill Zachariasen did the only review for it. He said people who were there will be talking about this for the rest of their lives. He said,
For the rest, well, I was there, and it was an evening that I won't forget. That note came out of nowhere, and the eyes just went like this, and the heart started beating, and the people were crazy. I don't think I heard a pandemonium like that until, or I don't remember. I guess it was when Nielsen returned to the house.
Oh, well, anytime Nielsen.
Right, and she returned. She was gone for 5 years, and she returned to the house. I don't think that was a pandemonium I'll never forget. But this one was up way up there, and people were banging on the standing room. I was in the company standing room, and they were banging on the.
Well, what was fun is when I took my curtain call, they usually tear up
the
and
programs.
they make it nice and small. They were throwing whole programs. They threw the confetti, they threw whatever they threw, but they were also throwing whole programs. It was so much fun. That to me is what makes it makes it different. It makes it exciting. That's why at any time it can be different.
Now, talk to me about your program. So, what you're giving back now, your academy.
I had the fantastic pleasure of meeting and working with a fantastic young soprano named Maria Vetere. And she's absolutely amazing. And if an opera company is smart, they will hire her. She looks like Elizabeth Taylor, and she sings the old-fashioned way. And brought down the house when I featured her at Carnegie Hall, when they asked me with this wonderful company to go and do a little Christmas program, and she brought down the house with a superb Celi Azzurri, I have to say. And that's hard for me. But she was spectacular. Mm-hmm. And she came to me originally and she said, look, there is this opportunity through the Centro Studi in Italy to start a program. Would you be interested? And so we did at the Centro Studi, and then we moved immediately to Buseto and asked that the Tebaldi Museum assist us, because of course they're in Buseto in the most beautiful way. So we formed a colloquio with them, and then everybody got very excited that we were there, and we've been there now, 7 years, on and off, either online or there. And it's a wonderful opportunity to walk where Verdi walked. We go and we visit Puccini at the Torre del Lago, and you see where he is in the wall, literally against his piano. And now the great Simonetta is in the same little wall that we visited. And it's a bit of history that you get to see where they walked, the villages they walked, the food, the air, the quality of being in Italy. And you realize these are not just notes on a piece of paper, that they were written by a human being, that now you saw where they lived. You saw the house where they lived and died. You see the little bed that they brought from the Grand Hotel at in Sant'Agata. And you have this marvelous arc of, it's not just chicken scratching. These are notes from the soul of this person. And you then will form a friendship with him because you walked in his shoes or her shoes. So that's it. It's an exciting, very successful program. And now with COVID, of course, we've had to be online, which is not as fun. But we haven't suffered for that, and it's because of the tremendous organizational prowess of Maria, but also the quality of the young singers. Which brings me to another wonderful thing to tell you about. I'm starting an organization here in New York which is going to start presenting young people. The first evening will be something sort of like a Millo Medaglia d'Oro series, in which I'm going to give an opportunity for New York to hear who I think are some wonderful singers.
Well, that's wonderful.
And it's a major, beautiful orchestra, terrific conductor, most likely Carnegie Hall, and wait to hear these young voices. There's some coloraturas, there's some fantastic, what I call archangel tenor in Joel Ritchie, Catherine Weathington as a coloratura, Emily Casey, a couple of voices, mezzo soprano in Aaron Armstrong and in Stephanie Yelovich. And I won't give away everybody because there's spectacular singers in that studio of Maria's, but also several that I've heard here in New York that I'd like to feature. That are
well,
really
we do a competition every year, and for the past 2 years, the singing has been on such a high level.
Good.
And quite a few of our winners have now moved on to the council, the Metropolitan Opera Council auditions, and are doing well.
Yeah, but you see, Stephen, one of the problems is where do these people get them to perform?
Well, that's the problem, right?
I'm hoping to do to the New York City Opera, which I'm happy to announce has asked me back, and that will be in 2023, and we are now discussing location and the date. So I'll be back with the New York City Opera singing this time just opera, which will be a lot of fun. But the concerts for young people, it's like, where do they have an opportunity to sing except the Met, which is very hard to get into?
Uh-huh.
And where do you have the opportunity to hear the folks that are not camera ready? Because I'm more interested in voice. I don't care about putting them on TV. So I would like for them to have the opportunity to be heard by New York. And the wonderful things that the opera orchestra used to do was indispensable, has sort of fallen through the cracks. I mean, they're not in our memory, in our hearts, no. But we need to have an organization that gives them that chance.
Well, we're working on, we have a branch of our company which is concert opera, and take away the trappings of the scenery, the costumes, and all that. Some of like what Maestro Quella did with opera orchestra. And to me, I think that's very important because these singers have to concentrate on the music, the characterization, which needs to also come out through their voices, and we're working on bringing that back this year now. When
good, I hope
COVID.
You do.
We also do it through musical theater because on March 12th I am doing a workshop for Sondheim. So I think that's very good. And then on April 2nd, Luana DeVol, the Wagnerian soprano, and Tashina Vaughn are doing a masterclass for me.
Well, so you keep things going. That's wonderful.
Keep things going. And I'm doing a singers roundtable on the 3rd with Luana, Tashina, and we'll see who else we can get because, and that's going to be live. That's going to be at Opera America.
Wonderful.
Yeah. So I'm very, very happy that you're really working hard and also with the Renata Tabali Foundation for the 100th anniversary of her birth.
Yes, that's very exciting. They're doing fantastic things at the museum. It's you feel like you're with her.
Yeah.
And we just lost the magnificent Tina Vigano, who was the best friend, confidant, and basically she kept Renata comfortable and happy and able to give so generously on stage. And for Tina not to be there, I mean, it's a very emotional. Very emotional. Every one of the Opera Vision Academy got to know her and sing for her among the costumes. We did this little concert for her one night. And so we love you, Tina, and we miss you very much. But Renata, to be remembering her 100, I mean, think of it. She always wondered if people would remember her. It's like, who could forget it?
Right.
There's such a spectacular instrument and so full of joy and so full of beauty. Just like nothing you've ever heard.
Right. Well, for the people who actually heard her live, I know they talk about it to this day about performances they heard of her. I'm going to ask while I'm playing the final excerpt. which I hope Aprile you like. I went very much to pick this out. Please, if you have any questions, put them in the chat, because then we will get them and we will ask Aprile. One thing that besides opera, Aprile takes the simplest of songs and she turns it into one of the most heart-wrenching experiences that I've had listening. And I know this is based on her heritage too. So I'm going to let you all listen to this. Oh, come on. Let's go.
Oh
I don't even know what to say. Aprile, that was magnificent.
Thank you, Stephen. I appreciate it. It's like being with my mom and dad.
I kind of figured that. And when I found that today, I said, "Oh, I need to include that."
I'm glad you did. It's like being with them for a minute.
Yeah. Well, they should. I know that they're looking down and they're smiling, and they are extremely proud for everything you've done
I hope so.
and for everything you're going to do.
No, we have some fun stuff coming, I hope.
I do have some questions and comments, which I will tell you.
Okay.
Ashraf Swaliam said our canvases need to be. Yes, he's at the Met right now, and he says our canvases need to be splashed with such eloquence as well, not just artistry. Christopher Purdy went brava, and Emily Casey said Madame Millo stunning.
Oh, thank you, Emily. So sweet.
Corey Ellison. Yeah, Corey Ellison, Aprile, you're a revival of the golden age, and nobody sings like you do anymore.
Oh, thank you, Corey. Oh, she's very knowledgeable.
Yes, I know Corey quite a long time, and she's wonderful too, and very, very knowledgeable.
Very knowledgeable. Thank
you. Let me see. Did you ever have stage fright?
Sure.
I think if anybody doesn't have stage fright, I don't believe the word of them.
They lack humility if they don't. But there was a period after I had sinus. They've corrected the deviated septum, and after that, it was a little less easy. It was hard to hear because you get used to hearing yourself in a particular way, and until I got used to that, I did have a lot of fear in singing because I couldn't hear the way I remembered. But other than that, I loved being on stage for the most part. As long as there was at least one rehearsal before, sometimes without, like in Vienna Staatsoper, we did one of the great Othellos I ever sang in my life, we did without rehearsal. I went the day before or 2 days before, and the maestro didn't even show up.
Wow.
And so I threw an absolute hissy fit, and I remember Renato Brusson said to me, "This is the way they do this here." So I thought, well, if he can do that, I'll do my best. And then, that was 45 minutes of applause, and Brusson and Atlantov, and I have to say one of the great times I sang Desdemona. Because I loved Vienna. I loved the orchestra, because the orchestra doesn't just play. They know it so well, they're looking back at you. And if you're doing something spectacular, I remember having the head of the violin, the cello, and one or two, the oboe and the clarinet, they all came to my dressing room, and they kissed my hand and said, "We are with you tonight, whatever you want to do." Because apparently that I threw a hissy fit. I said, that this is a great public out here. How can you do this? They should have more than these rehearsals, and you should not be giving me a tape so that I can acquaint myself with the production this way. They deserve better. So it got around the opera house that I was sort of the old-fashioned. But after they heard the first performance, they went nuts. And of course, it helped that Schwarzkopf came to support me my first night there. But what a spectacular group of people. And the same thing at the Met. The Met has the equally magnificent orchestra. But when they see that you're trying to make music and you don't have a man who cannot subdivide, which is the problem with a lot of these young maestri, they do not want to give you creative amplitude, just wherever you want to go. That's one of the reasons I loved working with Eugene. He knew the operas inside and out. I often played most of the time without score.
Right.
And Maestro Patané, these are the people. You want people who know the score enough to let you fly with it. So.
There's a very famous story when Luba Velic actually came to New York to do Tosca. They didn't have a rehearsal for her at the Met. And she said, "No, don't worry about it." And she went up on the stage and she said, "Now show me. Where do I come in? Where do I kill him? Where do I jump? And that's all I need."
Yes. Well,
but why does it have to be done that way?
it's a different kind of animal. I mean, she was a stage animal.
Right.
When you're singing in front of the Vienna Staatsoper, and you have an audience that knows it better than practically anybody.
Right.
Mahler conducted there, I would imagine, if I'm saying this right, also at the Metropolitan Opera.
Yes.
You have a certain responsibility to the music as well as to the direction. And now the direction gets the 2 weeks before, and the music gets the week.
Right.
Whereas you want to have, there used to be months of working with the maestro. So there's a vicious trade-off now that makes music suffer, I think, a little bit.
The people were saying they were crying at Danny Boy. They were weeping. And Debbie Surdy remembers you singing this song at a friend's funeral.
Yes, that's right. Yes.
Well, don't have any other questions yet, but we're getting close to the end, so hopefully we'll get one or two more. But, hold on, we do have another question. There's a little bit of a delay. That's why there's a, who is responsible? This is from Ashraf also. Who is responsible for your incredible technique, especially the amazing medium and light mix that facilitate your incredible pianissimi? That's a very good question. Thank you, Ashraf.
Yes. He's a spectacular bass, wonderful, wonderful voice, and now he's coming even to more and more intention.
Yes.
Basically, my mother and father taught me, and I listened to them, and I would mimic them, and I would listen to Poncel, or I would listen to Tebaldi, Muzio, and Ricciarelli. You know, I appreciated very much. Her piani were very beautiful, and Milanov, no question. So I was listening at first, and then I worked with the wonderful Rita Patane, who was my only singing teacher, and after my mother and father, and that's it. And it's just, I think it was something that naturally came, and then they were very smart to keep it healthy, keep it supported, and keep it firm. Because what I'm finding nowadays with young voices is they all have wonderful qualities, but they're not firm. And so you get a sound around it with a lot of noise, or you get a wobble, or you get a trill. Whereas they're singing a note, you can't even tell which note they're on because it's oscillating so much. That drives me crazy today of the modern school. I mean, every school has its ups and downs, and I like firm. I like firm voices, not waving madly, not friendly voices. Just let the body sound. You know, there's always something. There's always something to say. I just cheer for these young people, and I pray for them, and I want them to continue, because Elizabeth Taylor was a very good friend of mine, and I went to her house numerous times, and on her walls were Picassos and Monets and Renoirs, and of course she threw the 45 carat back into my lap at the Plaza Atene, and I said, "Are you aware of all the incredible things you have?" And she said, "You know, they're not really mine. They're entrusted to me to take care of them. And then I pass them along for another generation so that they can enjoy it." And I kind of think that's what we do in the opera world, if we're smart. We find all the great things that were done before us. We make sure that we take the best of what was done, bring it forward for a new generation of people, and then just that's our part in the legacy.
Yeah.
You know, pass the beautiful forward.
All right, so I do have one other question for you.
Okay.
I know you are an amazing tennis fan.
Oh, yes.
So do you think Djokovic is going to actually come back and play the French Open?
Couldn't care less.
Okay.
My guy is Rafael Nadal. That's my guy. He'll leave his spleen on the court to try and win and to persevere, and fights his own inner battles. I liked Roger Federer. I don't like selfish people. And if you're not going to get a vaccine, and you're going to place everyone else in trouble because you think whatever you think, if we had been this way, we wouldn't have gotten here as mankind and womankind.
That's true. That's very true.
What I find today about today's people are they're very selfish. If you even thought for a minute that this caused a deformity, everyone would have gotten the shot. Right. But because it's that nameless, oh, you won't be able to breathe, oh, I've had a bad cold. No, you have not. Not like this.
No.
And that you would inflict that on older people, all the people who died all over the world, millions of people, and that you dare to be upset to wear a mask, or you dare to not want to get a vax. It's like you do your part so that we can get through this and it doesn't get to morph into something else. I don't understand people like that. So with Mr. Dorkovich saying he's going to take a stand about the vaccination, it's like, take a stand over there then and infect your family, infect whatever else is out there.
Right.
It has nothing to do with Serbia. Serbia is a magnificent country. He's maintaining that everybody's attacking him because of Serbia. No, we're attacking because you're being selfish. And you're a wonderful player. Come play. Follow the rules.
Well, that's very true. That is extremely true. But I don't know how to thank you. You have made this 90 minutes fly by. And I hope I hope you enjoyed the music that I played.
Oh, of course, music.
And I look forward to more times talking to you. I really do.
I hope so too. And good luck with everything you're doing, Vocolupo.
Thank you.
All the wonderful endeavors, and to your wonderful family, and to your the love of your life.
Yes.
Absolutely.
But I hope hopefully you'll join us for the some things we do in the future, because I think your expertise is very great, and to the young singers, they need somebody like you.
I appreciate it.
And we also need to hear you sing more.
Yes, I'm looking forward to it.
I want everybody to know that if you go on YouTube, you will see Aprile singing Il Tabarro, and that was from Genoa, and that was a spectacular experience also.
Simonetta Puccini, the granddaughter of Puccini, came that night, and she was clapping and visibly supportive. And what was so sweet is she said, I never really liked this opera until I heard you sing it. I never understood it, really, she said. And imagine, she's at an advanced stage and she's saying that. So it made me very proud. I loved her very much. But thank you, Stephen, very, very much.
Thank you, Aprile, and I wish you all the best, and hopefully we will talk very soon.
I hope so.
And everybody out there, thank you so much for joining us, and we hope to see you soon again. Take care now.
Stay safe, everybody.
Bye-bye.